The reason why I said this is going to be a little bit different is because there's just some major news going on around Matthew Stafford currently, which it feels like it's getting a little swept under the rug in ways by people who are fans, maybe, or people who just like the Rams in general. And I wanted to address kind of a career injury timeline of Matthew Stafford because I think it kind of does play a little bit into this, where in 2018, he had tiny fractures in his back. Um, I, I'm not a doctor. That just doesn't sound too great to me. Um, in 2019, he had a non-displaced fracture in his spine, causing him to miss 6 games and was placed on injury reserve.
His spine, and which forced him to go on IR.
So that was the 2019 injury where he broke his back, actually. And then 2020, where it's a little, I don't think it's as hyper focused on his back, but partially torn UCL in his right thumb, torn ligament in his left elbow, cartilage damage in his 8th rib, a knee injury, and a sprained right ankle. I mean, he was beat up clearly.
He played through that too. He started 16 games that year.
Yeah, I mean, he's an animal. And then in 2022, the spinal cord contusion, he sustained that spinal cord contusion in week 11, which led him to be being placed on IR and then ending his season. And that was around the time where we originally started to kind of hear the flirting with the idea of the potential retirement of Matt Stafford, where these are major injuries. Can he continue to play with these said injuries? And then obviously he continued to play still through 2023, 2024, and now we're about to be into the 2025 season. The next thing that I wanted to say was this offseason, when Stafford was so animate on getting a new contract, and the Rams at the time felt reluctant to give him said contract and allowed him to go out and seek if it was an opportunity for them to potentially trade him. And there was Giants rumors, Raiders rumors, the entire nine. And looking back on that, they ultimately re-signed him for a 2-year, $84 million extension. But looking back on that, at the time, they have the most access to his medical records as of this point, because all of these major back injuries happened before and then during his time with the LA Rams, and then now feels like they probably have all of that information gathered up. Do you think that potentially played a role into the reasonings why we were hearing so much buzz about a potential Stafford and the LA Rams like divorce in the offseason?
Yeah, I would assume that, and the fact that he's 37, he's not getting any younger. He's been relatively healthy the last 2 seasons. Played 15, started in 15 games, and then 16 games last year. So like he's been relatively healthy from that perspective, but extending a 37-year-old quarterback, even though he's been relatively good, more so in 2023 than last year, I would certainly have concerns. But for some reason, they didn't see it as we want to restart this whole thing and move on with a different quarterback. They caved and signed a contract, but I think that the injuries have definitely played a role into the hesitation for wanting to extend him.
And now going into into the latest situation, training camp begins. It comes out that Stafford is dealing with back soreness and he's considered day to day. Now it has turned into he has an aggravated disc and he is receiving epidural injections to manage pain, and his status is continued to be week to week. And McVay has sat in podiums saying he'll be back on Monday, he'll be back this day, and then ultimately he still has yet to come to practice. Just a little other side note as well. He skipped a planned return on practice on August 11th and instead used a 160K, a mortal chamber, a wellness pod, offering light therapy, guided meditation, and oxygen, with surgery still not being on the table apparently at this point. And then just to kind of continue the narrative as well, Matt Hasselback went online and pretty much said, like, voiced his concern, saying that obviously, like, these disc injuries are extremely unpredictable and they can pretty much derail an entire season. And now, as of August 13th, Stafford still hasn't returned to practice. He still hasn't had any update on what's going on with his week one readiness. This feels like a hit the panic button moment that nobody's talking about in any way, shape, or form. And this really reminds me of, I forget what year it was exactly, but when Andrew Luck went into camp, and there was a point where he was sitting out pretty much the entire preseason camp period, and it got to a point where he then had to retire. I'm not saying Matt Stafford's going to retire, but it really feels very similar to this. And like you said, he's not getting any younger. He's had back injuries in the past. And one, it's definitely in question if he is going to play this season, in my opinion. And I think that it's definitely on the table that he could potentially retire or miss a significant chunk of this year.
Yeah, for starters, the mobile immortal chamber sounds like something from a video game that you jump into, like that is in like Fortnite that you get thrown into
Yeah.
to regenerate, so
I
you
will
have like
I
full
will
health, full
say
shield.
I will say that doesn't sound great. If you're
Yeah, like
doing that,
you go in there if you're about to die.
it's August 13th. Like, the season's right around the corner. If you're telling me that we're pretty much doing everything possible to not have to dive into surgery, if these things don't work, I mean, like I said, this is a hit the red panic button type moment for the Los Angeles Rams.
Yeah, and the like Matt Hasselback said, the disc injuries are no joke, and they definitely suck even as a younger quarterback, a younger player, I'm sure. And the only thing is you're able to recover from them probably a little bit better, a little bit faster, um, more efficiently at least. And when you get to 37 and already have a history of injuries, like they just start to add up, and you're not recovering the same way that you can. And that's clear by all of the measures and foreign medicines that they're trying to get him ready just to play week one. Like this isn't like they're getting him ready to push him into the playoffs where you just got to figure it out for like 4 games at best. Like this is to just get ready for the week for week one. And the way that things are trending right now, I don't think he's going to be ready. And I do think you're right. I think there's a very good chance he misses a good chunk of this season.
It
This was
it
my biggest
feels
concern this entire offseason for the Rams.
it feels bad. It feels bad. It feels like that also the Rams fans are kind of covering their ears, covering their eyes, and just hoping for the best. But even what I found interesting, and I sent it to you, is even on like the social media and the Rams' personal social media pages, how they're speaking in the press conferences, they're really focusing on pumping up Jimmy Garoppolo and
Yeah, they have
highlighting
to.
highlighting how well he's been doing, highlighting that he still has it, the whole nine. That that is equally as concerning to me, because it's like, okay, we think that, like, if I'm a fan or anybody, it's like, okay, Matt Stafford has a chance to play week one. Then we're in the press conference and we have the OC sitting there talking about how great Jimmy Garoppolo looks. That would have
Yeah.
me like all time, like, not in my stomach type of.
Yeah, you get to Monday and you expect him to be practicing, and then you're met with the brutal report that he's in that chamber. And it's Wednesday, and you're getting um, press conferences about how well Jimmy Garoppolo is throwing in practice. So um, things are trending towards the worst for the Rams offense right now.
I completely agree. I do want to go into the 2024 season and review all of that and this offseason, because we'll get into it when we do this preview of the 2025 season for the Rams. But this team has gotten so much hype around them just because they had a close game against the Eagles in the snow. And not only am I concerned about the Matt Stafford injury, I'm concerned about multiple things about this team. And we're going to get into that in this video. I don't know how you feel. We obviously don't compare notes before this, but it sounds like you were definitely concerned because of the Matt Stafford situation. I'm definitely concerned about multiple things about this team. I just spit it. Good girl, we're getting paper as a passion.